I'm a student of the Mike Menser routine, which is one of these days I'll talk to you about
David
it
Goggins
when I
stuff?
get a little more ripped. No, it's basically because a lot of people like spend all these hours in the gym and every day. It's really unnecessary according to this philosophy. Basically, you do like 8 to 10 reps of the maximum until failure, and you only need to do one set. And he discourages like the typical 3 sets of every exercise. You're in the gym for like an hour, hour and a half. So basically you can do a workout in like 20 minutes. But the key is you focus on one body part. But the key is you max out 8 to 10 reps, one set till failure. So the philosophy is a lot of people waste time in the gym.
Well, it
makes a lot of sense.
For sure. Yeah. There's a lot of wasted time in the gym. The gym's not made for, like, gyms aren't necessarily made for like consistent body figures. They're made for you to kind of come in and go and you think you got something. That's why everything is so far apart from each other, and that's why like the practicality of like space, there's not like a lot of space to do much movement other than just sitting stationary movement, static movement, which is like, it only is good for your figure. It's not practical. Like you could tell these guys who look like Greek gods, hey, help me move this couch, and they're gonna have lower back pain at the end of it.
Yeah,
it's not functional.
Well, that's the
it's not
point. That's the
functional,
point. They work out. They work out so much. They're constantly fatigued, constantly tired, and they're just doing too much. And it's unnecessarily. They end up not being able to. What do you call it when you stabilize? You can't grow anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They end up doing that because they're locked into like this. This routine that's unnecessary, and I can relate because when I ran cross country and track in high school, looking back on it now, I should have trained smarter, not harder, because I was running 100-mile weeks, and I was running the fastest times in early season, and then later on in the season I would get injured, and I'd do horrible. So I could start well, but I couldn't finish well. So I would have trained less, probably lifted more weights, but that's kind of a big revelation, is that you kind of can do more by training less if you're more strategic.
Yeah.
So
we had when I was a little guy first, and then I first started lifting weights. There was a guy coming to the church at the time, and he said, "I'll make you this deal," because he was a bit like dude had a body like a Greek god, but it was functional too. He did like 10 years in prison, so that's when he got his size.
Yeah,
guys would hang on each other and body weight.
Just body weight. Yeah.
So he's like,
amazing.
I was 150 pounds at that time at 18, and then I was like, man, I want to get size. And he's like, well, let's make this deal. He was a vice president of LA Fitness. He was like, let's make this deal. You teach me the Bible, and I'll train you for free. You just got to wake up whenever I wake up, and you got to go. I'm like, deal. So when we started going to LA Fitnesses all over, really Inland Empire and beyond, because he would say, hey, I have to work today out of Riverside, meet me in Riverside. So I'd meet him at Riverside 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And I was thinking at first, like, okay, we's going to be bench pressing and all this stuff like that. He'd just take me to the corner of the gym, and he put a 25-pound weight vest on me, and he'd be like, give me 100 push-ups. I'd be like, look, and I'd be like,
do this at home.
You're the vice president of this gym. Like, what are we doing right now? And then just give me 100 push-ups. Then we'd go over the dips. He'd be like, give me 100 dips with the weight vest on. Okay. Then he put the belt on where we clink in 45-pound weights with the chain belt. And he'd say, okay, now pull-ups. I don't think we trained for probably like a year and a half. I don't think I ever did just a traditional dumbbell, go on the bench and do dumbbell press or whatever. Like the whole time, he had me doing push-ups, pull-ups, and dips. That was the main routine. Then everything in between was kind of built in between. Yeah. And the reason why he told me that is because he was like, calisthenics, your strength will never go with that. And then he said your size will never go. And then I think now where I'm at, like I haven't worked out in years, but at least my figure has been consistent, right? Yeah. Size-wise. Because of that, I had always only ever done those 3 kind of base level things: push-ups, pull-ups, dips. This is the thing we rotate in between every single time. Yeah. So,
It's interesting because there's actually a trainer in the NBA who trained NBA professionals with no weights.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's James Harden's trainer. And
wow.
If you notice, all the NBA players that have gotten injured or hurt in the past, it's because of that. And so what he does with James Harden is he does plyometrics, no weights. And if you notice, he doesn't get hurt. You know, he's available every year, you know. And
your joints, it saves your joints and everything. Yeah, man.
One of our kids is actually training with him.
Oh, really?
No weights, and he's a baller. Yeah, he plays at a local high school here, so I think it works.
Well, they say squats is the greatest leg exercise, so you don't necessarily need weights for squats. Dips is the greatest triceps and back exercise, and then pull-ups is the greatest back, shoulder, and number of things. But it's basically body weight. Like you don't need weights. You don't need a gym to get, fit, strong.
Yeah, if you're pushing up
and
your
then
body
you were
weight,
going to do you and Nash were going to do CrossFit, right? You're going to open up a CrossFit thing? When you were really into it?
Yeah, I was going hard, huh, H, man?
Oh, yeah.
Nobody could hang with me back then, bro. Nobody could hang with me, man. I was cranking out. Yeah, I got my certification in CrossFit Level 1. I had my, I forget what it is, National PT, National Personal Training, whatever. I had that many years ago, and then I went and got certified CrossFit Level 1 trainer because originally Ashley didn't want to go into ministry. And she was my assistant, but she was like, I'm not going to do this long term. Like, I'm going to kind of do my own thing. And so she loves fitness. She has her master's degree in coaching and leadership. And so I told her we both really loved CrossFit, but for her, because of her size and her ability to put on muscle mass, everybody at our CrossFit gym was telling her, like, you need to go pro. Like, you need to take this serious because you'll kill it. Like, you'll just kill it.
I'm sure she would.
So for her, we were talking about it, and then she didn't like all those big burly muscles, that the girls had.
And she bulks up fast,
Yeah,
too.
she bulks up really fast.
Yes.
So I honestly think she would have done it if she didn't have such an issue with her figure becoming what it was becoming. She just wasn't a fan of that aesthetic. A woman Spartan is like not her. She does not think that's attractive on her or really in general. So for her, she was like, if I do this, so it was like, okay, well, maybe I obviously don't go pro, but let's open a gym. So we had investors. We had a space that we were going to lease. We had a manufacturer we were going to work with to make have the equipment for us. We were 90% there. Like we were set an opening. It was called Samson CrossFit. It was a big old gorilla head. And then, everything gotta have the gorilla head.
Gorilla head with long hair. Exactly. Give him long Samson hair. Gorilla head.
So
I could see it.
So it was called Samson CrossFit. We were at first running it out of our garage. That's when H said he came and trained. So we were running Samson CrossFit out of the garage. I even had a decal on my Jeep of it and everything like that. Like we were pretty, it was pretty close to happening. And then maybe Ashley can recollect better than I can, but I think just at one point she was just like, no, I enjoy this. I enjoy ministry. I feel like I'm coaching people, and she started mentoring people. So she was like, if you want to do it, we could do it together as a family. And I was like, no, I have a full-time job. I'm a youth pastor. I was doing this for you. And so once we kind of had that talk of, she's like, well, let's do it together and not just me. Then that's when I was like, no, I was just going to run business operations. Yeah. Like this was going to be your thing. And she said, no, not anymore. Now I want to stay in ministry. We're like, okay, well, we'll let it go. We'll let it dry out.
At one point you had the building.
Yes. So we had Utica on lease.
On lock, and you had the equipment coming in.
So right now where our generosity center is, I had a lease option for that. And we were gonna lease where our generosity center, that's 10,000 square feet. We were gonna run Samson CrossFit out of our old Utica property. We had already talked to the
I remember that
to the company. We were gonna lease it out and everything like that.
Area for that.
Yeah, it was perfect. We were ready because CrossFits work really well in those type of business complex areas and stuff like that. So we were set, man. We had square footage. We had everything priced out. We had 2 people who wanted to invest. We knew how many, we just had everything on lock. It was exciting, but
so can Can we go to the direction of what we text about now?
Sure. Yeah.
For this one, or do you want to do
No, we
another
can
one?
do
Do you have
whatever you
anything
want.
planned?
No, I have nothing
If
planned.
you have nothing planned,
We never have anything
I think
planned.
there's.
I'm nervous.
Right.
No,
we never have anything planned.
I am nervous. I
Don't
don't
be
know
nervous.
what.
We'll need your insight.
This is for you, Chelsea.
We'll need
what
your
are you
insight.
drinking, by the way? Matcha?
Matcha with
And-
soy milk and vanilla.
Nice.
Hey, you little hipsters.
And we have another top. We have a top G here, so he'll be able to add some insight.
Yeah.
Top G.
We got 8. By the way, for those, because we always just be hitting record, we got Haron in the podcast, one of my oldest, bestest friends, who's also our youth pastor in the house with
Yeah.
us.
Hey.
And then we got Chelsie Baham, which is the regs, one of the
The
regs
regs.
on here, who's one of our producers on here. And we got Verlon in the house on the opposite side.
Verlon.
B. Baker.
Yes, we got Verlon. Whoa, Nancy's here. I didn't even see when I walked in, Nancy.
Hi,
Hey,
sorry.
hey, we got Nancy.
She snuck in because she was late.
Stop.
Oh,
Oh,
she's
my
like-
God. Dang, Jermaine.
Boo, tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
And then we
Hi.
got Andy's shoes in the house. Hey, Andy. Andy's hands and shoes. And then Gabe back. By the way, Gabe,
Yes.
how's that new married life, man? You're going on almost a month, right?
It's beautiful.
Good words.
He's a private man.
Yeah. And Laura on the camera back here. Good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Laura.
in the house.
All right.
Okay.
So, one of the purposes that I find this podcast, and for myself personally, is to take ideas circulating in the secular space or in the world. It's God's world. It's God's history. So all ideas, I like to look through the lens of truth of God and Christianity, and one of those big things being talked about is kind of like male self-improvement, the manosphere, red pill, and I've communicated some of those concepts because some of those concepts are good wisdom. I like to sanctify it and put a Christian perspective on it because the goal of a lot of that advice is just to bag a bunch of women, get a lot of women to sleep with you. But there's kind of like the trinity or the triad of male self-improvement that is this manosphere red pill talk boils down to. And it's money, muscles, game. So as a man, you need to focus on money, which, is basically just work ethic. Men need to have strong work ethic, right? And then muscle, a man should be in shape. He should be physically in shape. He needs to be able to protect his community. He needs to be able to protect his wife, his woman, and his children. So he should be, to a certain degree, in shape. He should at least be stronger and bigger than his woman, or stronger than his woman. And then game is basically social skills, right? You just have a lot of socially awkward men today, afraid to approach women. Chelsie has expressed this in the past. Men that are afraid to approach women, ask women out, just awkward in conversations, can't really hold a conversation, doesn't know how to make eye contact, just, socially awkward. And a lot of that is due to the epidemic of porn, the epidemic of social media, long hours spent on social media, not socializing, etc. So I think those three things is good sound wisdom that you would read in the book of Proverbs, you would read in other sorts of Proverbs. Now, the goal of a lot of this in the secular sphere is like, okay, get money, get muscle, get game so that you can, sleep with a bunch of women, right? But obviously from a Christian perspective, that's sinful and that's not to be encouraged. So I was thinking to myself, what is, and I think this conversation women can also profit from, but more than anything, it's going to help men, but it's also, the goal is to help women, because what's best for women than having an amazing man who has these strong attributes, right? Yeah. And so I think it's profitable to have this conversation, and I think it's helpful. And so I was thinking to myself, well, is there a biblical parallel to this advice, money, muscle, game? And I was like, well, the closest thing there actually is, and it's found when Jesus, in the book of Luke, it says that Jesus grew in wisdom, stature, and favor with God and man. So wisdom is knowledge applied. Wisdom is the ability to say, okay, I have two choices in this decision, A or B. A is going to produce this result. B is going to produce this result. So let me choose the best possible choice so that I can have the best possible fruit in any given situation. That's wisdom. A lack of wisdom is making foolish decisions that lead to foolish results. So wisdom is knowledge applied in daily life, right? So, if you have wisdom as a man or woman, you're going to be well off financially.
Yeah.
Because that's a big
take
aspect.
Solomon, the wisest king to ever live.
Yeah.
He both was wealthy and he had massive kingdom, property, everything like that.
Exactly.
And he was known to be wise.
You
know?
reap what you sow.
Yeah.
If you have wisdom, you are going to be well off financially. And I like this concept for men because it emphasizes the fact that men have to earn the right to have a woman. Men have to earn the right to bear children, to father children. Men have to earn that, right? It's not a given. They're not deserved it, right? Just by being a man. They have to earn the right. And so wisdom, a man needs wisdom. Wisdom, stature is basically physical fitness. Jesus grew in stature. As a young man, he grew from child to teenager to adult. He was a carpenter. He worked with his hands. He was physically fit. He was physically active. He was able to take care of his mom. He was able to take care of the people around him, right? Stature. And then favor with God and man. Favor with God, living a righteous life, living a life that pleases God, a life that avoids sin and seeks righteousness. But then now, that's my introduction. Now I'm just gonna.
That's his sermon.
Now I'm gonna table it for Adam because and you guys to butt in when you have something to say. But I really want to interview Adam now along these lines.
It's one of those days.
Yes. So
Yes.
Popcorn.
Matcha ready.
so I want to interview Adam now, and so I'm gonna seek his wisdom, his insight, less of me and my great wisdom, and more of Adam.
His profundities.
So I won't get in as much trouble today. So I just want to interview the boss.
We'll see.
I want to interview the boss, okay? Because here's the thing. Here's the thing about Adam. If Adam could write a master class on anything, it is favor with man. That was favor with God, favor with man. What does favor with man mean? Favor with man is social skills. Favor with man is the ability to network and to create positive friend relationships that's going to advance you positively in life. And so we're dealing with the epidemic of lack of social skills. We're dealing with the epidemic of pornography, of social media, especially for young men. That makes men in general socially awkward. And so if Adam could write a master class, it is how to develop social skills, how to develop social awareness, how to develop friend groups, friend network, and how to, in essence, how to have favor with man, because you have a lot of favor with man. Yeah. And throughout your life, you're a high school graduate. You have no college graduation certificate. You have and I say that as a positive. Some people just don't need it. The Elon Musks, a lot of the billionaires, they are just naturally gifted in these areas. You're that type of person. So you've able to position yourself successfully in life, and I would say because of the relationships that you've built around you. It's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know, as the saying goes. Okay. So walk us through, how do we...
No pressure.
Right?
That's very kind. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
How do we, and I'll when you write a book on this, I'll be glad to write the foreword. That'll be my introduction to the foreword. So walk us through, walk us through that process. You go with it wherever you want to go. Social skills, favor with man, friend networks. How do you do that?
Okay, let me say this. Yeah, because you brought it up the other day, and we briefly started talking about it, and you said, wait, I might want to bring this on the podcast one day, and then we kind of stopped the conversation. Sure, I didn't know it would be the next podcast. But here's the first thing I'll say, and it was the first thing I started talking to you about. Number one, and H will be able to say a lot into this too, because he'll know what I'm talking about when I talk about it. Number one, I was not always this type of person that I am, which is strong at building relationships, being a person that is definitive in my plans and my ideals, being able to express those things, making sure that no one gets left in the dark or kept in the dark. I try to be constantly aware of what the most quietest person in the room is feeling and thinking, because I was that guy. And so my natural state, which being the youngest person, was usually more of like the class clown, and then the person who's like trying to beg for attention. Like that's usually what the youngest kid in the family is kind of like. And so that being said, my youthfulness really as a teenager was more so wanting to be liked by everyone at any case, at like any regard, even to my own disenfranchisement or out of my own, you know, don't worry about me. I just want to be liked by everybody in the room. I'll do whatever you say. And so I had a relationship out of high school and college for 4 years with a girl. This girl had her plan together. She knew everything she wanted from life. She knew what college she was going to go to. She knew what master's she was going to go to. She knew where she was going to live. And basically, it was her thing. We dated for 4 years. It was like, if you're going to roll with me, Adam, you're going to live my plan. And you know what I said during that time? Yes, of course. Whatever you want, babe. You know, I just want you happy. I just want to be married to you. And so every weekend I would drive home from college and she would drive home and we would hang out all weekend. And when my friends would be like, yo, Adam, tomorrow's Saturday, let's go do this in college and blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, no, I got to go see my girlfriend tonight. I got to go tomorrow. We're going to, go to a park and walk around and all these things like that. Right. I just did whatever she wanted and asked, until I met a man named Cairo in college who'd gotten saved later on in life. So he was 11 years older than me, but going to college with me because he had gotten saved and wanted to go to Bible college. I met him at 18. So I was dating that girl still. I dated that girl from 17 to about 21. But at about 18, I meet Cairo. And Cairo at that time would have been about 29, 30. And one thing I noticed about Cairo was he set the temperature in the room, whatever room he was in. Okay. Mm-hmm. Anyone here? Did you know Cairo?
Yeah, I remember.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Heron, did you know Cairo? Yeah. I mean, wait, yeah. We're all best friends. So that's the thing. Like, if you met Cairo and anyone who's met him before, and he was a love him or hate him type of guy, right? So there was positive attributes and there were negative attributes. But one thing that I knew about Cairo was he set the temperature in the room. He always had a plan. He always knew how to talk with someone. Here's one of the things that was like huge that Cairo taught me, and we spent like every day together almost, from besides me hanging out with my girlfriend, which we were both in college, so on weekends we hung out Monday through Friday, like me and Cairo, and we rocked. Anyone who knew,
I remember that.
anyone who was friends with like us, you knew what my nickname historically has been Rabbi. You knew Rabbi and Cairo rocked together. Anyone else that was in the room, you were just byproducts of hanging out with Rabbi and Cairo. That's what it was for a long period of time, right? We even transferred colleges together. Like we were brothers. And so he came from the music industry. He did some stuff with DMX and other things like that. So for a while he was a music producer, and so he's very well connected. But one thing I noticed was he knew how to go in a room. He knew how to shape the atmosphere. He knew how to talk to anyone about anything. And one of the things he had always shared with me is he was like, Adam, try to your best of your ability to memorize hello in every language that you can, and memorize each country's most popular food dish, because food, it goes to the heart. So we would go somewhere and he'd talk to a Jamaican person. The dude had the craziest Jamaican accent, hello, you could ever imagine. Mm-hmm. And then he'd start talking about red beans and rice and jerk chicken, and oxtail soup. all of a sudden a Jamaican, boom, light up.
Yeah.
You know, he was Egyptian. So any Middle Eastern, he'll go in the room. He'll start talking about fulma dumas, which is like a soup, and you know, and shukran habibi, when he's saying thank you. I mean, he was fluent in Arabic. But anyone Middle Eastern, immediately open door. I mean, we'd go to places and he'd be like, we'd be in like a liquor store, and they'd be like, yo, candy's on me. If there was Arabic owned, you know, like candy's on me, get whatever you want. I mean, the dude just knew how to immediately break the ice really fast. And as I was around him, that wasn't naturally me. And so I was like, man, how do I do something like that? Like everybody, I mean, we just, anywhere you go. Mm-hmm. And there was a couple of things he taught me. He said, don't always try something new. Why don't you go to the same places over and over and over again so people get to know you? And then when you ever have guests, go to the places that know you, and then everyone will be treated like family. So he had the same place where he got his Red Bull. He got the same place where he got a pack of gum, right? Food places. He had very normal food places. So like he lived in Manhattan Beach. If you were in Manhattan Beach, he would tell you what you were doing for the day, right? And you would be with him, right? So you would be going to his gas station, you'd go to his restaurants, and you would think the guy was a mayor. But what he actually did is he's been to enough places and he went to the same ones enough, and he treated them well and they treated him well, that they knew him right away. So you walk in and you're like, who is this person I'm with? So guess what? If he has friends in town or he's having a business meeting, guess where he's going? You're going to his coffee shop that everybody knows him in. One time he had moved to San Francisco, and he lived in San Francisco for 3 years, and I'd fly up maybe once a month. Everybody in San Francisco knew him. He'd only lived there for 3 years. One time he and I went to Miami, and he hadn't been to Miami for 10 years. He goes, bro, I'm going to take you somewhere. We go to a restaurant. They knew who he was. He hadn't been there in 10 years. Dang. So I'm looking at that stuff, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, and this is not me. That's not my type of personality. But as it started to become clearer and clearer how he was doing and what he was doing in terms of relationships forming, sometimes I think you have to parakeet things until you find your own voice.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So a lot of people feel like, well, I don't want to, the imposter syndrome is big nowadays. Well, I don't want to be an imposter. I don't want to be this. Well, that's the same thing. Like all of us, and then even you, Chelsie, we all went to Bible school, Christian school. They always tell you, don't be afraid to sound like your favorite preacher, because you're going to. They never tell you in preaching class, find your own voice. They never tell you to do that. They say, they say in the long run, that's what you want to do. But on the front end, they go, don't be afraid that you're going to sound like your favorite preacher, because you don't have a voice yet. So don't be afraid to parakeet your favorite preacher's sermons. Now, don't copy everything they said word for word. Then that's wrong. But to get help with your points and your study and your structure until you get 5, 10, 11 years in the game, then you could be like, wow, I found my own voice. That comes in time. So for me at first, I was just like, man, I'm just going to parakeet everything he does. So I started memorizing hellos in other language. I started memorizing food dishes. I started memorizing certain things about people's cultures. I started realizing, paying attention to who's really in charge. That was one thing Cairo was big at. It's like when you go in a room, find out who's in charge of the room. Win them over. You win them over, you win everyone else over, right? So he'll be like, we go to a restaurant, he'll be like, can I have the manager? Most of the time, the manager gets pulled when a person's mad. He'll pull the manager and he'll just say, hey, I'm here with 8 of my closest friends tonight. We're just excited to have a great meal. I just want to let you know we're not going to be trouble. We love this restaurant. And
That's such good advice, man. I remember him doing that too.
What does the manager do? The manager gives you the best table, the best everything. I remember one time we went to a Cheesecake Factory. All of our silverware was dirty. Like it wasn't washed. It had like food crisps on it and stuff like that still. Like it was just, the washer wasn't working over, but they still set all the table. This dude put the silverware all in the like center of the table, asked the waiter for all new silverware. We ate our meal. He called for the manager that he had greeted when we walked in, asked for the manager, say, hey, we're excited to be here, blah, blah, blah. Cheesecake Factory out in wherever it was in Los Angeles. I'm trying to think of the specific one we were at. So we're at it. He calls the manager. He greeted him and comes like, "Hey man, I was really disappointed to come to our table. I want you to look at these forks that we had. So he didn't give them back right at the beginning. Because you give them back right at the beginning, everyone would just come. They'll just say, "Hey, we're so sorry," and they'll swap it out. He saved it, got new stuff. He shows the manager, "This is what we had when we walked in. It was kind of disappointing. I just want to let you know, because I had my friends, some of my guests from out of town. Just wanted to give you a heads up." The entire bill was comped for free at a Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, man.
So you're seeing these things.
Chelsea, wait, hold on. Chelsea.
Yeah.
You're going out with a young man, and he's got this type of. Is that attractive? Would that impress you at all? Like you're going to a man, and he's controlling the room. He's got strong social skills like this. Does that speak to you in any way?
I think
Does that
it would
impress
intimidate
you?
me in the beginning, because I'm like, is he out? Because I'm like, does he do that at every restaurant? Like every single restaurant? This is
no. He'll do it. He'll do it at first when he's trying to, win you over.
Yeah.
And it's not in a female perspective. Yeah. Just win the person over it, and them see that he has control of the space, right? Because he and I would go to dinner all the time. He wouldn't do it, but we went in a group 8 people. Some people he knew, some people he didn't.
Yeah.
So it's an act of immediately controlling the space. You have already
taking
set
charge,
yourself.
You're leading. Yeah. You're setting the schedule.
But Cairo also, when I hung out with him, and I was around him, he was a cool guy. So he was a nice dude, at least to me. And so if somebody was like that and they were mean and like. It's one thing, but he wasn't like that. So I would be impressed by that. If a man is comfortable enough to do that, I would be impressed as a woman. Yeah, absolutely.
So like you're on the first date and he's taking charge. He's setting the schedule. Yeah. He walks into a room.
And then you show up to the restaurant. And everyone in the restaurant knows who he is.
100%. That's attractive to me. 100%.
Okay, ladies, 100%. What do you think? What do you think, ladies?
Yeah.
You're pointing over here.
Jermaine's right there. Jermaine.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's an attractive quality. I mean, I think if it's done with grace and obviously, not being a jerk about it, it's definitely attractive. I
don't think the way I've said it was.
No.
I'm just clearing the air.
Yeah.
A man who can speak up and not be afraid to speak up in a graceful way, I think is very attractive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And would you say that like that would impress you if people know him? If you go to establishment and there are people there that are kind of know him already, and there's that social awareness.
Yeah, I personally like that quality because I feel like I can be the same way where I'm friendly and I'm greeting and I'm sparking up conversation with anybody in line at the grocery store. So I like that quality.
Because there's a sense of a lot of young men, a lot of men like they don't understand the importance of developing friends in society.
Yeah.
And so they're just locked in their room or they're on social media, whatever. But they don't. Does that mean a lot to a woman who's with a man that he has like a friend group? He has a large friend group. He's not just an island to himself.
Yeah, it's a red flag if a man is like in an island by himself.
Yeah,
but all of what you just described is not just like a friend group, it's favor, what we said in the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
So that's attractive to me. If I know that wherever you go, there's favor that follows you, there's something about that I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
So it's not just you have social skills.
Yeah.
You have favor.
So
That's
define
different.
favor as compared to social skills.
Yeah. There are some people who are great, so I'll say it like this, in the preaching, teaching world. There are some communicators that are great communicators. They're just great orators. They know how to speak. Mm-hmm. But there's others who are in a room that those people should be in, but they have a relationship with people that got them in the room. Might not be a great communicator like the other person, but they have a relationship that got them on platforms and rooms that their skill might not have otherwise got them in that room. That's favor versus skill. So favor is not just I only have this skill in this setting. I'm not just good with people. When I walk into a room, there's something different about me.
Yeah.
To where there could be other people in the room who have better social skills than you, but favor is just that one step above social skills. Because there are great communicators in the world that don't get the platforms and the spaces that others do. That's favor. Mm-hmm. That's something that your skill can't get you anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would say, I think, like, personally, I think favor isn't fair. sometimes we see that people have like favor and we're like, wait, that's not fair. Well, they have, I feel like there's favor when you walk with the Lord and you're faithful to him and you're walking in obedience and repentance. And then it's like, oh, wow, like this.
You're genuine, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. That's the thing. It's important when you're applying some of these things, is that you're not manipulative, right? That it's genuine. It's coming out of a genuine heart.
You don't want to come off like a used car salesman. That's for sure. So it doesn't necessarily, like if you go with me in a particular room, like I'm not the loudest person in the room.
No,
I'm rarely, and if you go with me to conferences, other rooms, like, I get greeted from where I'm at, all that kind of stuff like that. And I'm usually the most quiet person in a particular space, because it's not necessarily what you're saying. It's when you speak, it should matter. That's the difference.
That's true. I was at a conference that Pastor Adam invited me to. Quiet. Like he just Pastor Adam. But the guy that ran the conference highlighted Pastor Adam in front of everybody else and told a story about Pastor Adam. That's favor. That's fair. He didn't have to do anything. He's just sitting in the chair. We were eating.
Right.
And you know what I'm
talking
about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's favor. That's favor.
Yeah, and I was at another thing one time, and it was about 50 influential people. I mean, some of these people are on television. Some of these people are on other things. Big names. Both, they're all Christians, but they're in different spheres and spaces. So some have 10 million followers on Instagram. Some people were on TV. Just a lot. And a lot of it was like one-on-one conversations and stuff like that. And by the end of it, there was about 7, because at the end, you're supposed to go around. It was a 3-day retreat. You go around, what impacted you the most? Is there anyone here that impacted you? And there was about 7 people that said, man, I got time with Adam last night. Dude, he made me feel like $1 million. He gave me a second wind, because that's what I'm doing. I want to impart something. I'm not there to take anything from me. I think that's what a real man does, is that leadership quality goes, I'm not going in a room to kind of add to the element of the temperature to take anything from someone. It's to give something away, whether it be encourage. So if I talk to young men, I'm like sitting there and I'm like, bro, I'm going to make you more bold. I'll make you more confident in who you are. I want to help you realize that. I want to help you see that. I want to walk with you. So you want to help impart something. So about 7 individuals were like, man, Adam, it just consistently. There was a guy, and if I said his name, you would know. He was on The Bachelor and stuff like that. He was one of the bachelors on Bachelors. He pulls me aside and he goes, what did you do to make such an impact on all of these guys? He said, are you famous? Because none of us really, unless you introduced yourself as someone, because there's 50 people in the room. He's like, are you famous? I was like, no, I'm not famous in any way, man. He's like, what did you do to impact? And I go, man, I wanted each guy to feel special. Every guy I talked to, I wanted them to walk away to know how much they matter. I wanted to hear more about them than I wanted them to learn about me. I mean, that's all it was. He was just like, dude, can we get coffee one day and talk about that? He was very honest. He's like, man, I struggle with my ego because I'm famous and I was on The Bachelor, but I don't have influence like you had. And I think that's the difference, is you can have a charisma that comes in, which becomes like the used car salesman guy. You're walking around shaking everyone's hands, passing out business cards. Like, that's not what this is. That's not what it is. You're not getting people to sign up for your business or whatever it is. It's literally you walk in and you go, oh, there's 100 people in the room. How can I get influence with 4 by the end of this? Other people will walk in and go, how can I have all 100 notice me by the end of this? So what do they end up doing? They're the first to volunteer for the goofy dance. They're the first to volunteer to go on stage. They're the first one to write a check so that everyone notices them and them hold the check up. Like, that's not cool. That's not fancy. There's nothing impressive about that. You may be impressive, but you're not influential. And so that is what I've learned the most, is like when I go in a room, and one of my other mentors, Gerald Brooks, told me one time, he was like, every person you should ever meet, you should always have a question lined up for them. And it should not be a question that's obvious. You have to do research on that person, and you should ask a genuine question that is based upon their interest, not your interest.
Right.
And we've talked about that slightly before, about the Matt Damon thing, because what happened was we were all joking on a family table at breakfast at Disneyland. And it just so happened that day that my dad was talking about the the concept you're talking about, which was Adam could sell ice to an Eskimo. And I said, no. The trick isn't about selling ice to the Eskimo because that's a used car salesman. The trick is finding out if the Eskimo needs ice and you being the only person the Eskimo wants to buy the ice from. That's the trick. Because the other thing is you using your gift for corruptibility.
Yeah.
The person doesn't need ice and yet you're still squandering their money and you're convinced them because you used your gift to abuse them and manipulate, right? Yeah. The other thing is me finding out, like, do you need ice? If he needs it, there ain't no one on this planet you're going to get it from but me. And I said that comes by provoking them and their thought and seeing where they're at and what excites them. That's the trick. And then literally Matt Damon is in the omelet line. And I tell my dad, I bet you I could even do it with Matt Damon. And he was like, there's no way that guy gives you a time of day. There's no way. 15 minutes later, Matt is, and the trick was, and you said before what I asked him, I said, hey, Matt, some of my friends don't believe in global warming. Because he's like what I know is he's a voiceover for a lot of global warming like documentaries. And so I go, dude, some of my friends, they don't believe in global warming. If I stuck you in a room and I said you can only point to one resource, a website, a book, a magazine, no one else, a professor, whatever it is, what is the one thing that you would say I would point them to this for global warming? And he goes, man, that's a really good question. Nobody has ever asked that before. Boom, I'm in. I knew it. I knew.
How did you know that he was a voiceover for? Did you just Google it before you?
That's growing in wisdom and stature.
Yeah.
Like you can't be stuck in a room playing video games the whole time. Like you have to be reading books. You should be watching the news. You should be. I believe every man should know about religion, news, and politics. I believe every man should know those three things. Doesn't mean you should talk about it in every table. But every man should have some type of
current events.
Which politics I kind of throw in the current events. Religion, news, and politics, right? You should all and every
Andy, you got to clip this Matt Damon story, by the way.
And every man should be groomed and smell good and take care of himself, not just in the fitness side, but in other things, right?
That's a word.
You should trim your beard.
Tell me about that, Chelsie.
That.
Sound like you sound like you have some past negative experience from that. Well, tell us about that. Help men out.
Hygiene is important. That's all I'm gonna say. Keep going, Rabbi. Preaching a word.
Jermaine, what have I told you before? If I saw your beard unkept ever again?
Depends.
Have I ever told you that?
Yeah, you've had some great choice words on that. One of the offers was, I will pay for you to go get your beard done.
I said, if it's a matter of money, just tell me. I'll pay for your haircuts.
Or if it's a matter of time, do it while you're on the clock.
Right.
I'm like, dude.
But I said, I'll write you up if your beard is unkept,
That's
like
great.
if it's a consistent attitude of habit, right? If it's just like, dude,
What I came to realize, because I was, what I came to realize was because I was in a 5-year chronic pain, depression, locked in my closet. I didn't go out. Like I'm literally starting from the ground up, coming back into light again, right? So it's like, and I would wear the same thing every day because I wouldn't go out much. I'm just in pain. And when I started coming back here, like, being here, I was still in that same mindset. Yeah. Right. I don't care what I look like. Oh, whatever. Life sucks. My life sucks. I don't care what I look like. But what I realize is that me taking care of myself is not for me. It's for the people around me. That I'm doing it not for me. I may be fine, like being a bum. Yeah. But if I really love my children, then I'm going to make sure that my car is clean. I'm going to make sure that I smell good around them. If I love my wife, I'm going to make sure I look good. If I love my coworkers, I'm going to make sure I smell good. I'm going to make sure I look the best I can possibly look. And it really is like, it shows my care, not necessarily for myself, because I may not even care about myself. I may not have any self-respect or whatever, but it shows that my love and care for those around me
my
is what
ex-mentor told me this. I was traveling with her, and I had a backpack that was just like my backpack, but it was janky. I took it everywhere. And she said she bought me a new backpack one day. She said, everything about you says something about you. So your janky backpack that you carry, it says something about you. Now, you might not care, but to other people that you're around in these influential rooms, everything about you, your nails, your hair, how you present yourself, how you smell, says something about you. So she said, you get to display the narrative you want other people to read about you.
Yeah,
so that's why I think
and it's not like
That's good.
and it's not like in your case where like you're just like completely broke and you're on the welfare system and you're like
right,
you know, this literally is the only backpack I can afford. I don't have $30 to buy.
I could definitely pay for another backpack.
Yeah,
like, come on,
right,
Chelsie,
right.
what are you doing?
But it's like, oh, look, I bought, you know, I'm going to Disneyland this weekend. You know, you're going to pay $250, but you can't go get a haircut, but you can't. And that's one thing I've never understood is like, this happens a lot with wives. They'll always tell me, because I'm very aware about my hygiene, my composure, what I wear, all that stuff. I always get jokes from women like, will you just take my husband to the mall with you once? And he just, and I think to myself,
it's a problem.
I think to myself, as a man, why would you not, if you hear your wife say, could my husband go to the mall and at least buy some jeans in this decade? Like, for your wife, why wouldn't you just go do it?
right.
Because they'll be like, it's stupid. I don't need it.
It's not for you.
Your wife just told you what appeals to her.
Right.
Maybe it'll get you some more booty time if you do it. I mean, just off that. Like, if she's saying something, listen.
Well,
and the vice versa, she should listen if you're saying, but it's always for men. It's always, could you tell him to get a haircut? Could you tell him, could you, could you tell him to stop wearing the same clothes over and over that stink? Could you tell him to go
a shower.
get a
like,
dress?
that's not okay.
Right? It's famous. You see these women, you go out to dinner with your wife, the women are dressed up to the nines.
Right.
She took care of herself, and then her husband next to her is wearing a shirt that is too big for him or too small for him. It's not a collared shirt or whatever it is. And he's saying, well, this is just who I am. You could be who you are all you want, but when you don't have influence and you don't have impressions and you can't then one day go, why does no one listen to me? Why was no one respect me? Why does no one this? You don't respect yourself.
Yeah.
You don't respect the way you smell. You don't respect the way you look. And I think that stuff can be carried away, taken too far. So don't get me wrong. Like, I think you could be too obsessed with yourself. There's a balance, but I think that a lot of times it's really sad when men are standing right there and man, I don't really have a desire. I'm like, I don't have a desire to do all this either, but it's important. It garners wisdom and influence when you do these things. Imagine the president walking up one day dressed like a schlub. You wouldn't vote for him. You wouldn't listen to him. You wouldn't respect the president if he came not wearing a suit. You'd say, oh no, I feel like he'd be a man of the people. No, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. You would not think that, because psychologically you would think if he came with a stained t-shirt to talk about a war they're about to launch, you'd be like, that's inappropriate, you know? And so there's elements to that. So when I was a young man and I started at first parakeeting and I couldn't find my voice, the girl I was dating, I kind of overcorrected and I became a very like machismo man, which was like my way or the highway guy. And she got really turned off by that. But to be honest, it was pretty fair of what I was doing, because she had told me, this is my life, my rules, you can get with it or not. And when I started saying, no, it's my life too, if we want to be together, it'll be our rules, she wasn't down with that. And then you caught her with your wife at Disneyland holding hands and kissing another guy when her and I had just picked out her engagement ring. And so Caleb, you text me and you're like, yo, is so-and-so's here at Disneyland and they're kissing in line.
I'm sorry on the all-seeing eye.
Yeah. And Caleb's
Don't get too
Disneyland.
close to me if you want to keep your life hidden. Warning.
So Caleb,
Only the brave
me.
have a relationship with me.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's like, Ashley, Caleb's wife actually was like, yo, Adam, we're here right now. So-and-so's here. She's with another guy. They're kissing in line right now. Like, are you guys good? Because last they knew was we went and picked out engagement rings a month ago. And I'm like, well, she hasn't been returning my calls, but her friends told me it's because she was busy with, finals and yada, yada, yada. So I hit her up and I'm like, yo, you just ran into Caleb and Ashley at Disneyland. You were kissing a guy. Like, what's that about? And she goes like, it was easier just for me to move on and not have the conversation than to have the conversation, right?
That's crazy.
So then, there was about 6 months when I went into like an abyss of all women are terrible. And I had and Haron knew me in that season, and I just went through girl after girl after girl. Me and Pastor Haron been rolling together over 11 years, so he knew me in that era. He never knew that girlfriend I had for 4 years. He knew me in the era that I have found my voice. I was very right. I had rules in college, right, with some of the guys. If we were gonna go out on Friday and we said we were leaving at 6 p.m., what would happen when we were in college?
You get left.
You getting left.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not at the car at 6 p.m. on a Friday when we're hanging out as guys, the car drives away. Cats, our boy Jordan Mans used to come out in his boxers from his dorm to jump in the back of the Volvo.
What's your reason for that?
Time is everything. Time says everything about you. Mm-hmm. If you have no idea what's happening with time, then it just says everything about how much you respect me, how much you respect us, how much you respect what's going on. Yeah. This whole TikTok or whatever of the time blindness thing, like it just
there's this dumb clip going around by Steve Harvey. By the way, do the opposite of what Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey gives the worst advice. His recent advice that he just gave is that late people are successful people, or they're not stressed because the reason they're late is because they're not stressed enough to arrive early. He said that dead face, like he was
crazy.
Serious. He goes, so
I'd say okay. If your show comes on at 9 a.m., then let's have your show come in at 9:20. Then see how long your sponsors hang around.
If you're a billionaire and you people.
Well, people wait on your time.
Wait on you, but I thought it was a joke. He's a comedian, but lately he's given like life advice.
Yeah, he does that.
And it's like he literally said that, and I was like, dude, what the heck?
Yeah, some stuff is good, and then some stuff is rough, like any of us. But yeah, some of it is rough. So by the time I meet H, I'm in that era of like brokenhearted, angry, like, I did everything. I did everything she wanted. I did and it was like, it still wasn't good enough. And in the moment, as a man, I started to develop my voice. She was out, because she didn't want that. She wanted a guy who would just do whatever she wanted. And as I became that guy that didn't want to do that, it was like, she was like, I don't want to be with that guy. But instead of telling me, she was like, just went and found someone else, right? That you, Caleb, stumbled upon her with that someone else, right? So me and H are in college, and I'm just wilding out because I'm angry, I'm hurt, and all that stuff like that. So I was that guy, which is on the other red pill that was, I had money, I was very entrepreneurial, I had my own marketing company, so all the guys knew, like, I was working at that time, so I was the one driving. I would try to cover for food as much for our friends as possible. I've always lived by a rule, like never let money be your no. If you live in healthy community, just speak up. Everyone should all pitch in and cover for each other. Don't allow money to be a missed opportunity if you're in good community. And so we would kind of do that. We'd all, cover each other when one person was hurting or whatever. And so as I was finding that voice, I was the other red pill, which then was like, okay, it's all the original stuff, the unsanctified versions of it all, right? Game and this and that. Yeah. And it left me more emptier than ever, in that sense of there was no authentic relationship, anything like that. You could get any girl you wanted to with confidence and all these other things like that, but it didn't sustain. It wouldn't last. Because that stuff on the front end may be pretty, but if you don't have character, if you don't have integrity, especially for me, if you don't have a relationship with the Lord, if you don't have any ethics in your relationship, all that stuff, then it all falls to the wayside, right? Mm-hmm. You can put makeup on a ugly duckling as much as you want, but at some point when they get in the water, it'll wash off.
It's not good for long-term relationships, and that's the thing with a lot of these manosphere red pill gurus is they don't have any long-term. Most of them don't have any long-term committed relation. So if you just want to know how to
have one night flings, then and
Yeah.
you would attest to that. That was your experience, right?
Yeah, I was that guy, right?
It's not it's not good for long-term success.
I know.
I have a question, Pastor Adam. Over the years, because as I've known you, you have a very black and white way of looking at things. Not that you don't appreciate or acknowledge nuances or anything.
Yeah.
But I've noticed in the most intense situations and the simple situations, you will simplify it down to the bare. And a good example is because you one thing that you said changed my life, and I always watch myself now with this, which is like prioritization, right? It's like people say, I can't afford that, or I don't got gas money for that. And it's like, no, you don't prioritize for that. You don't care about it enough to make it so. Like, that's why for me, when you guys were talking about clothes, I never cared about clothes. When you told me that years ago, just about something about Matthias's first birthday or baby shower or something, and you were like, you just don't prioritize it. It's okay. Don't say nothing. Don't make it about nothing else. You just don't prioritize it. It changed my life because it was so true. So when it's like, like if you get on me for my beard, I can't say, money's tough right now, and then you know how much a haircut costs. I can't afford that. I could never say that because it was not true. It was I didn't prioritize it, right? Or with clothes, like I'm been trying to dress better. Hopefully some people notice, but I never in the past I've just never prioritized it, and I can't say I couldn't afford clothes. That would be a lie. I couldn't say that. So all that to give background that you've simplified, is that a thought process you have to make it easier to approach problems and come up with solutions to simplify things? Because I've noticed it rubs people the wrong way or it doesn't, and people either strongly disagree with you because they want to be the exception, or what.
Yeah, I mean, mainly, because I naturally have a rebellious spirit, so I always look for the loophole. That's my mental space, right? Like, so you can establish rules at the table. Everything within me goes to look to how to find the loophole in there to be able to still be within the rules, but break every rule. That's what I did with my parents growing up. That's what I've done with almost every avenue, right? So I have to operate in black and white, because if there is any nuance allowed, I will completely decripple that and then pick that nuance as an excuse to be able to let me do, whatever I want. And so in my own imperfection, right, you'd even look at like lately, like I need to get back in fitness. But if you talk to me, I have every loophole figured out that no matter how much you try to convince me to be fitness, right, and into fitness, right, I have the loophole figured out that has convinced myself on why fitness isn't there yet right now, even though I know 100% it's a black and white conviction of mine. Fitness 100% is a conviction of mine. If you are not active and fit for, like, I would say that shouldn't be the case. But then you go, well, Adam, how come you haven't done it yet? Immediately I will begin to give you every excuse in the book. So I operate in black and whites because I've been around enough young men that have every excuse in the book. And I have been with so many young men, and me even being that guy that's like, you give me nuance, I'm going to break every rule that exists in that book. So when I would talk to a young man or even a young woman, I'd be like, well, I'm not saying you can't date that person. I'm just saying, be watchful of the blank, 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 blank. And then a month later, they go like, well, it went bad, yada, 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 yada. I started thinking to myself, what if on the front end I just told them I thought it was a bad idea, I'm not going to budge, you go do whatever you want, but I'm not cool with it. Then they'll come back and be like, thank you, Pastor Adam, for keeping it real with me. Rather than, well, Pastor Adam, you told me that you think it could work out. And I'd be like, no, but remember I told you, and I listed all the other things. Well, yeah, but if I just heard from you, then I go, well, I'm not going to do that anymore, right? And so, I mean, me and H have been friends, for 11 years now, and I don't think, and even you, like you and I operate on the same level of code of life in a lot of ways. And so I don't think I budged at all in 10 years in terms of what my convictions are. Right?
No.
Like when I was in college, did I groom myself? Was I aware of what I was wearing? Was I presentable at all times? No, like, has stayed consistent for at least the past 11 years, where I have consistently been in that sphere of I'm going to read books, I'm going to watch the news, I'm gonna be aware of what's happening politically in the atmosphere. I'm be aware of economics. I'm be aware of what I wear, how I present myself. I'm be aware of the way that I speak to people. I'm be aware of the way that I either win people over or lose people, right? And I've lost people a lot of times because my convictions and my values do run really deep. But in order for me to operate, that's how I have to operate. So if someone is saying, if like you said, if there's a book that says favor with man, I think people respect a person with values and convictions. And me and Cairo used to have a saying, and we had it on the top of our apartment: you don't have to like me, but you will respect me.
You have to be interesting too, right? I mean, because that's a lot of like.
What do you mean by that?
Well, a lot of what he's saying, because like for women, like doesn't a woman want to be with a man that can have an interesting conversation?
Yeah.
The Dos Equis guy or whatever.
When you're at a dinner date. Like,
I don't want to feel like I'm driving the conversation.
Yeah, like,
oh yeah.
Do you ever go on dates with a guy and he's just blank face? He doesn't know what to talk about.
100%. And I feel like it was work. The date was work because I'm driving. It's like I'm interviewing you. I'm driving the conversation. But if you can, as a man, lead the conversation and keep it going, you're interesting.
Yeah.
And it goes with you're constantly in a state of mind of constantly bettering yourself, bettering your mind, bettering your body, bettering your appearance. You're a man. Men, that's the greatest satisfaction being a man, is becoming better than I currently am.
Yeah.
And there are men who just get stuck and they get lazy and they get, and it's like, man, there are disabled people, and this was me, because I am the type of person, I'm never content with my current state of affairs. I always want to become better.
Yeah.
But when I got disabled, I was in a rut for 6 years and I couldn't do anything about it. I saw my life pass before my eyes. I wanted to work out. I couldn't. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. I wanted to do that. I wanted to advance in my career, and I couldn't. And so for men who are able-bodied, especially young men who are able-bodied, there are disabled people. There are the Zacks of this world that would kill to have your resources and your capabilities, and you're squandering God's good gifts that he's given you, the mind that he's given you, the body that he's given you. You are squandering that by being lazy and refusing to better yourself. And so all men, no matter what stage in life, we can better ourselves to some degree. And so encourage men, don't be content with your current state of affairs. Always be, how am I going to be a better husband? How am I going to be a better father? How am I going to be a better man? How am I going to have better relationships?
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, it's like, it leads first with this, like, Psalms chapter 1, but it's like, fear of the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom. Like, that's where it starts. I have a massive view of God and a massive fear of God. And so it keeps me from the desire of wanting to take advantage of things, peoples, those around me, my loved ones, because I know the expectations the Lord has for me as a man. And that's going back to kind of Jermaine's thought. The question too is like, I have a massive, massive view and respect for the Lord and a fear of God. And so everything drives my fear of God. And so it forces me to be in my Bible. It forces me to be in prayer. You see it right now. It's big in the secular world. Like these guys who are in these manospheres, they're all reverting back to religion in some sort of way. Because they're seeing they're seeing the fruit, and they're not there quite yet, some of them, but like you're seeing this impose this work of like, I've done everything in this man thing. I've led, I've done this, but there's something missing. And what really it is missing is you have yet to humble yourself before the Lord. And so no matter how much you try to be wise, you cannot be wise until you fear God and you respect God and you revere God and you serve God. Because then that will drive all of your motivations. If you can be a man of God, if you could be like David, a man after God's own heart, like Solomon, who sought the Lord's wisdom. Like there's all these things that you see in the scriptures when a person has healthy exhibitions in their life, it usually came from a contrite heart that desired the things of God first, and then everything else was a byproduct of that. So success, property, wealth, kingdom, relationships, even for them, their wives, right? Like they started getting in healthier marriages as they started to develop a richer relationship with God. And then their stature changed from that point to then have those women desire those things, right? You look at David's first wife and you see how that went. And then you look at Bathsheba and you see that they both repented, and then they actually had a really healthy marriage.
Yeah.
And then had Solomon out of the root of that, right? Then you had his other son, Ahab, that didn't come from Solomon and came from an unhealthy relationship. So you see those things exhibit, like as a man, having a healthy relationship, having healthy things exhibits in your children, in your children's children, in your generations. So you have to pursue those things. So,
well, people need to understand too, the Protestant work ethic is what built this country, America, the United States, and what has led to the greatest technological, the greatest architectural, the greatest engineering feats in human history, the greatest advancements. That came from the Protestant work ethic. And that was built around the fact that all of our lives is an act of worship to God. What we do with our bodies, what we do with our hands, what we do in every sphere. And the thing with liberalism and hedonism, which these red pill guys are coming to terms with understanding, is without that Protestant work ethic, without that fear of God, you revert to a life of hedonism and pleasure seeking as your primary goal. Mm-hmm. And so that's why you have civilizations that never advanced, a lot of civilizations, because civilizations that don't have God, what do they do with their time? They spend it sex, drugs, alcohol. Mm-hmm. It's just all about pleasure, hedonism. Yeah. And it was the Protestant work ethic that made this country what it is, and and people need to understand that, because it was all built around the fear of God. Atheism has not done anything in civilization. It was all they want us to believe that it was atheism that produced the iPhones and all the things that we enjoy. No, it was the Protestant work ethic.
Can y'all go deeper into, for people who might not know, like what the fear of God, what that looks like? Because I think that definition can be misconstrued.
It's seeing, it's seeing offer your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. A lot of it is what Paul wrote in the book of Romans about how God, all of Christ for all of life. Yeah. Christ should be involved in all of our lives, not just on the Sunday service, not just on the Mass, not just in attending a worship service. It is.
He's in the operate work. That you do business.
It is. It is the slave, the servant's relationship to his master. It is in the master's relationship to his servant. It is the mother's relationship to her children, children's relationship to the mother, the father's relationship, and so on and so forth. And so when Martin Luther and the Protestants, when they read the Bible for themselves, they saw, oh my gosh, God is involved in every aspect of our lives. From work to how we take care of our bodies, how we parent. Yeah. It's not just a Sunday Mass that God cares about. It's every aspect of our lives. And he's given us this creation to enjoy and to create and to innovate and to subdue the creation under our feet. Yeah. We are the sons and daughters of God. God's given us creation to subdue, to dominate, and to create, and to engineer. Yeah. And it was that's the fear of God. It's living all of your life in worship to God. Everything in your life can be treated as an act of worth, even what you eat, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do to the glory of God. Right?
So and I think molecularly, it's also that aspect of too is, and one day you will stand before a God that will either exercise grace or wrath. Right? That's why if anyone wants to know the Protestant mentality of a preacher and a Christian, just go read Jonathan Edwards' sermon, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. That'll give you a perfect picture of the spectrum in which people were operating in early
and that produced the greatest universities. Princeton, Yale, Harvard,
Columbia,
the one Cambridge. They all came from Protestant founders that
and the Great Awakening
started with seminaries that training pastors, administrators. And so even the greatest intellectual institutions of our day were founded off of the Protestant work ethic.
Yeah. So what do you guys think holds Christians? Because there's Christians who don't fear God. What do you think the reason behind that is? Do you think it's because they have an improper view of what eternity holds, what do you think that thing is? Because just because you're a Christian doesn't mean that you have a proper understanding of the fear of the Lord.
What do you think, H?
I'm just thinking about that devotional by Oswald Chambers, The Utmost Respect, and I think your strongest thought is gonna be your behavior. So their strongest thought is not a view of the fear of God. So it's not gonna
lead their behavior.
Lead their behavior. So your strongest thought is the direction of your leadership. So if my strongest thought is a healthy view of the fear of God, then that's going to reflect. But I wouldn't say they're Christians.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
The fear of the Lord is the
That's
beginning of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think that's the tough part. Yeah, they have yet to combat a realization of who they are in this picture of life and then who God is in this picture of life. And so a lot of people, I think, unconsciously or consciously view themselves with God as equals, and so if you view yourself as equal with God, then you will view yourself as a partner with God. Like, I'm creating as God is creating, right? A lot of these like new age Christians will, when you hear their messages, it's a lot of frothy stuff that makes a person, they trying to build a person up like you're so special and you can create and you can, and they're doing this, which I understand why they're doing it. But what they're also doing is like, they're not implementing the grandness of God. They're actually bringing God to such a level that then the person wakes up and goes, well, it's about finding my true self, my true happiness, my true purpose, my. It's just me, everything, right? It's like you're a seagull, right? It's just mine. And so I don't wake up with that. Like, I don't wake up with this idea as a young man. Like, I don't wake up with this idea of how do I find my purpose? How do I find my joy? How do I find my fulfillment? I think to myself, how do I help my wife discover her purpose and her true joy, which I'm a part of that? How do I help my children find their purpose and their joy? And how can I teach that to my sons as young men? Like, son, it's not all about you, like,
well, I would say too, I would say in addition to thinking they're equal with God, the fool says in their heart, there is no God. So it's living your life as if there is no God. And so as Paul says, if Christ has not been raised, Christians are the most foolish and stupid, and let's eat and drink for tomorrow we die. And I don't get these atheists. I don't get these, the biggest atheists who are trying to pursue some sort of moral civilization. You are stupid, because if I was an atheist, I would spend all my days sucking and and drinking and smoking and I would spend every second of my life maximizing my hedonistic pleasure, because tomorrow I die and everything is meaningless.
Yeah.
So I think it is this there is no God too as well. There is no God.
I think to call yourself equal with God is in the same implement to say there is no God. That's just the Christian view of it. Yeah.
But that's a lot of people in our society, is because when you have the obesity rate the way it is, 50% or 60 or 70, whatever it is now, when you have when you have addictions, what does that tell you? It tells you have a society that is hedonistic, that is addicted to pleasure, that is addicted to the dopamine rush of watching pornography, of going to McDonald's, of having, tons of body count, women on Instagram, lusting after the attention that men provide them in their DMs. Right? It's all about dopamine rush. How can I maximize my dopamine rush? That is a hedonistic lifestyle. That is living a life where God doesn't exist. There is no future judgment. I'm not going to have to give an account for my life. I'm not going to answer to a judge and a creator. And not only that, nothing in this life ultimately matters as well. So I don't have to be a good person. I don't have to treat my neighbors well. I don't have to have strong, healthy relationships with my wife, my husband, my children, so with my church, with my community, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I think social media plays a role in that as well, especially even with Christians, that when we want to feel good about ourselves, we'll search for messages that speak to what we want to hear, not necessarily what we need to hear. And so that's why I think the church plays a vital role in this, and not, because I'm thinking, like, as we're talking, just like as preachers, teachers, communicators of God's word, are we speaking a one-sided message that's teaching people that, you know, it's about your purpose and your calling and you're this and you're that? Should there be a better balance in the Christian community that says this life, like you said, it's not all about you, and switching the framework? Because I could say my generation and younger are getting fed these messages that find what you're called to do, and it's you. You're not really hearing a lot of, hey, like this life is about dying to yourself every day.
It's true, suffering.
Yeah, and the great and I think I think there are levels that intrinsically go into male and female gender roles biblically, because you're going to find fulfillment and value very different. And then the moment you start operating in one or the other, like that's where you find out of place. So you have a lot of men who are sitting as spectators in life and not really doing anything, and they're just like, what's my purpose? You know, I'm unhappy. How can I seek happiness? And all these other things. And then also how to become a millionaire overnight. You have all these voices, right, going in your head, which, you know, if you go back to what the Lord created men to do, it was to work. So the idea is and the Lord talked about that work will be hard and we'll sweat and all these things like that. But what he didn't say was that we were not to not do that. So a man's fulfillment will come from what you are building, your hard work. So when I'm talking to a young man, I'm like, bro, tell me what your plan looks like. And you don't have to have a built out plan, but where are you headed? What are you desiring? What are you building? What are you working on? And when you say, I don't know. I'm just, I'm going to church and I'm hoping something clicks. Well, if you're not actively doing something, working, the fulfillment isn't going to happen. So for me, like my fulfillment is not necessarily, even though there's some of the things that I enjoy, it's not, for me, it's not sitting down and listening to music, or it's not playing a video game. For me, fulfillment is teaching my son how to shoot a basketball. Like that is now where I start to discover my purpose, right? Last Saturday, my son played basketball against a really good team. As we were getting in the car, I said, did you have fun today? Matthias said, I had fun, but today I didn't score any goals because the other team was better. And I said, you know what, Matthias? Sometimes it's like that in life. Other people will score before you do. What I didn't say was, but Matthias, I'm sure next week you'll score more goals than the other team. It wasn't a tick. I wasn't teaching my son tick for tack. Oh, your time will come. You know, your time will come. I said, no, son, sometimes it's like that.
And
people
the thing is, the more you love
basketball,
the more you suffer.
Like,
The more you love, the more you suffer. If I wanted to eliminate suffering in my life or minimize the possibility of suffering in the future, I would have the least amount of committed relationships in my life so that I suffer less. So, because the more you love, that's why Jesus was the greatest sufferer who ever lived, because he loved the most. So the more you love, the more you will suffer. The more, if I have kids and I love them, I'm going to suffer when my son has to face that suffering and disappointment, when he has to have that, when he's born with a medical condition that I now have to bear him up the rest of his life and cry over him and weep over him and want to trade places with him. And when my daughter goes through her issues, what she's going through, I am suffering more because I'm loving more. And so, you know, when you talk about suffering, when you talk about, yes, this life, it's not about your calling, it's about loving people. It's about loving people. But the more you love people, the more you're going to suffer.
The more you'll hurt.
The more you'll hurt with those people, you know, as you live life.
And that's the tough part, is like, B&H knows, like we've lost a lot of friendships and relationships, and it's really easy to close yourself off and just be like, and that's why you have a lot of pastors who end up doing that, and then it gets them into trouble because they isolate, because they say, I'm done with people. I'll just teach from the pulpit on Sunday, but I'll have no relationships, because every relationship I open myself up to, I hurt and they hurt. But when I sit down with people, I go, you know, for the same amount of people that I can name who have hurt me and all these things like that, I can also name people who are strong and healthy, who if today we didn't have relationship and we didn't hold each other accountable, like they wouldn't be where they're at today. And so for as many people as I could focus who have hurt me, I could also focus on people who are still with me, who we have done life together, and it hurts. And you get in arguments, and you get in times where you don't text each other, you don't talk to each other, or there's this and that. But you fight for the things you care about. You fight for the things you love. And for me, my only line in the sand is when it comes to a place where it's your character, and I can no longer trust you. That is where I go, listen, I forgive you, but I'm gonna have to love you from afar. You know, like I don't trust you. And I've questioned your character in the area of trust. So therefore, I don't know how you will treat me and my heart and my relationship and my family. Like the moment that trust is broken, I've just had recent talk, with a group of people, was like, I rock with you till the wheels fall off. Until if you're a married man, one of two things happen. If you're not faithful to your wife or you're not faithful to your friends. Those are two things that are just big dividing lines for me, that I completely go red flag up, question. Or if you're a young man and you're not faithful to a girl and you're dating, right? Because your yes should be your yes and your no should be a no. So even if you're dating a girl and then again, call it my trauma or whatever, but I had a girl who did that to me. So to me, if you're a young man, so when my third date with Ashley, I said, here's how it goes. If we're still dating in 12 months, I will propose to you. If I have any concerns from now until 12 months, I will let you know. You will never, I told Ashley when we were dating, you will never have to go to bed wondering, where is Adam at with us? Yeah. Where are we at in this relationship? What is happening? I said, it's a 2-year track. I date you for 1 year, and then I gauge you for 1 year, and then we're married. You don't ever have to question that. And on month 12, she got a ring on her finger. And I told her, if you do not get that ring on your finger in 12 months, it's because I have concerns, and it's because I still have doubts and questions whether this relationship is the right one. But you will never have to wonder that. I will sit you down, we will go out to dinner, and I will tell you, hey, here's where I'm not ready to get married yet, because I think you have some growing in this area, and I think I have some growing in this area. But in that point, you have to pump the brakes. I don't think everyone has to do 12 months. Gabe didn't, but he still had a plan. When I sat down with Gabe, he's like, she still has 3 years to finish her degree. Yeah. So I think in a year, we're going to get engaged. And then in 2 years, we'll be engaged for 2.5 years, and then we'll get married. I said, bro, as long as you have a plan and as long as you communicate that to her, you're good. Like, there's no one way of doing other than the way, or like, are we good with this track? Are we good with what this looks like? But sometimes you hear the girl who's like, she's not good with it. It's like, he's been dating me for 6 years. Why hasn't he put a ring on it? I'm like, you shouldn't have to ask that question. If as a man, you're not communicating that with her, then I have questions about your character and your integrity. If you cannot articulate where you are at emotionally as a man, you have some growing you have to do. And that's okay. I'm not saying it's wrong, but you have to I can sit right now at this table and tell you, I know I need to recognize on my fitness and health. I'm not trying to lie to nobody. Exactly. That's the difference. Yeah. Like, I'm not, I'm great, bro. I'm good. I went to the doctor and my health is great. Like, bro, go in the gym.
And I told you I told you in our group, like, my weakness is social skills. Like, I'd rather be alone. Yeah. And so I've told you in our group that, listen, like I'm open, lunches, whatever. I wouldn't necessarily initiate it. Yeah. But hey, I'm there, guys, because I need this. I need to be in the world. I need to grow in my relationships. Yeah. I need to grow in my friendships. And this is a real weakness in my life, but I'm committed to be better in this area, because it's a real weak. And men need to know every man has strengths and weaknesses. You need to properly assess what are your weaknesses and focus on those, target those, Yeah. Yeah.
And grow in those areas and look to bring people around you that.
Because I have no problem abusing alcohol or abusing substances or messing up my body or becoming overweight. I have like zero temptation where other people that would be their temptation. My temptation is freaking being around people
and go in your own isolation.
Yeah, so like when you guys invite me to see dudes, I'm like, okay, I'm down. I don't necessarily want to, but I know when I get there, I'm going to enjoy it and I'm going to have a good time. Now, like, I don't want to.
but okay.
Yeah. Or
And,
even with
you know,
strangers. Like a couple weeks ago, you know, Deanna's in here. She just popped in. Jimmy, her husband, was taking me out for my birthday.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Caleb, you should come.
And
you
I didn't want to go.
Jimmy.
And
you
I
don't
didn't
know
want to
Jimmy.
go.
You never met him
Once
before.
I got in the
in that
car,
way,
I
right?
enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go. When you
Yeah.
text me that, I'm like, oh, God, I just want to stay.
I just wanna
I
be
just want
at
to stay
home,
home,
right?
but watch Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, I'll go. But I never regret it.
Yeah.
Whenever I do what's hard, whenever I get out of my comfort zone, you know what? It's funny. Like I never regret it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's a lost art too in our generation. If you look at Gen Z, they're so consumed with this self-pleasure, self-esteem issue that we need to practice generosity. And generosity means serving people. And what does
Yeah.
that mean? What you're talking about.
Yeah.
How can I serve Caleb?
Yeah.
By inviting him to this lunch,
Right,
inviting him out.
right.
And so to attest to what you said, I
Not,
think
well, Caleb never invites me to anything.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like that flip
Yeah.
side, right?
Yeah.
to be consumed with this social media of my calling, my pleasure, we need to start portraying more of what does it mean to serve? What
Like
does
your
it mean?
calling is to serve other people.
Your calling is to serve people. Your calling is to love people, love God. Your calling is to, be consumed with generosity. And I think we've lost that art in
Yeah.
our society because we don't see that often. We don't see people being generous. We don't see people, standing up for other people or other-centered. If you look at Luke chapter 12 and 13, Jesus calls people who don't focus on other people fools. And he says, if you want to have more life, your focus should be others. Your focus should be people.
Yeah.
Your focus should be being generous. So
Yeah.
I think you don't see that with our next generation because they're
Yeah.
so on
And it
social
comes
media.
differently for everyone, but it should commonly, principally be the same for everyone. You know, like what would look like generosity and kindness for me may be different for what that looks
Right.
like for Chelsie, but it's the act of being indisposed to
good.
do things for others in different ways. So like for H's, I know his is he has a great devotion time with the Lord. He's a wealth of devotions, whether it be what he just quoted right now with who'd you quote, Oswald Chambers?
Oswald Chambers,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Oswald, but H does, he invites, he does a young men's study, on his free time that he hosts here though, but on his free time where he takes young men and he does studies of the things that he loves, which is devotional series. H has been that way since we were young, so that's a generosity of time into someone else
Yeah.
in that way. Mine tends to be young men and more mentorship in the practical things of life, like let's just talk about you speaking up for yourself. Let's talk about you
Getting a haircut.
doing something for someone else. You got a next door neighbor, go cut her lawn if she's elderly. Go build those things. Oh, you got your wife, go get a haircut, take her on a date. It is that simple. Yes. Go to Macy's and buy a new pair of jeans. It is that simple, right? Like go on Amazon and get the necessary things you need to pick up your space, right? And we all need help in certain areas. And so it's being a person that goes, man, I'm going to start putting out there. I'm going to start with one person that may go to 3 people, that may go to 6 people, but I will begin to discover my purpose the more I start serving others.
Yeah.
It's not about others serving me. So when I go in a room, and that's one of the things I noticed about Cairo, it was never self-seeking or selfish in that way. Now, there were good parts and bad parts of it, but as a young man, that is what impacted me the most. And then I took the good and I took it, and then the bad I kind of strayed away because he and I have been strayed now over the years because of some decisions he made. But regardless, that doesn't mean that I still wouldn't speak highly of. This is a person I have zero relationship with. We have met each other and we had made amends, but we don't have a relationship anymore. But I'll still, no matter how ugly it was or gotten, I still will speak highly of him and the things that did do well for me. I think people struggle with that nowadays. Like the moment we break off, like I'm only speaking negatively about you. I only break your character. Me, people I don't have a relationship with anymore, you would have no idea. Because if we were in a room talking, unless you were my really, really close friends, then I have enough transparency that they'll receive me for who I am to be like, yo, this person, broke my heart or whatever. But other than that, like in a room, I was just recently talking to someone they were talking about someone who I had no relationship with, and I was like, man, yeah, they're a great person. And I named the things that I did believe were great things about them. But when I think about them, it causes me a lot of pain and upsetness still. But in public, I'll choose to always honor people, choose to always speak highly of people.
Yeah.
I don't need anyone to jump on my bandwagon. We're not in professional sports. I don't need you to choose my team. I'm Team Adam. I don't need you to do any of that stuff. I'm a big boy. I got people around me that I love and love me that help me in these areas of pain, and that's all I need. I'm good. I don't need to go to Facebook. I don't need to go to Instagram, and those type of things like that.
Yeah.
And so I think like Haron just said, is like we're losing some of those things of like common decency, respect, honor, integrity, because we're self-idolizing and we're self-pursuing and we're self-seeking, and that's not going to go very far.
And a lot of people deal with trauma like me, a handful of people, a couple people, like really hurt me the worst way a man could be hurt in different spheres of my life. And that bitterness, that resentment, that unforgiveness, it can fester. And when you deal with trauma, childhood trauma or other trauma later in life, you build up walls of protection around you in order to limit the same trauma from happening in the future. It's the way subconsciously, it's the way you protect yourself. And so you build up these walls of trauma. So if you've been traumatized by a loved one or by a friend, your inclination is to never let people get close again, never let certain people, never allow a person to get close again. And so you push people away. And that's a real struggle of mine in this present season because the way I've been hurt. And so you got to really work through forgiveness and bitterness and resentment because, what's that saying? Unforgiveness is taking poison and expecting the other person to be killed. And so a lot of people need healing from that as well in order to allow them to love like Jesus wants us to love, to have the relationships that he wants us to have. A lot of people need that healing. I'm just saying I understand it. Like for me, it's a journey, and I'm not necessarily have overcome it. It's a journey, and it doesn't happen overnight. So people need to understand, like there are people listening, you've experienced like some serious trauma from people that have betrayed your trust, that have abused you, that have misused you, mistreated you. And I understand where you're at, and this isn't going to happen overnight, and don't beat yourself up if you don't manifest these principles overnight. It's a journey. It's a healing journey, but be aware of it, work on it.
Because there's no perfection in these things, and there are a few people that you bring up their name, it'll rile something up, but I just choose to separate myself, from the conversation than rather embark in the conversation because I know what that does with my emotions. So, if there was an area in my life where I couldn't talk about. There was a season in my life I couldn't talk about Cairo. It's not that I'd say anything bad about him. It just, if he was brought up, I'd walk away. I just was not engaging in that conversation because I knew what emotions that would bring. And so I think that's where some of those balances are. And then also, because I'll reflect back when I talked about people who are like not faithful to their spouse or relationship. Here's the caveat I say, because I do relationship with people who've had those circumstances, is there should be true, genuine moments of repentance and actions of repentance. And so those are not, I was caught, therefore I'm going to do everything I can to be in everybody's good graces again. It's literal, how is your life exhibiting now that you have been a repentant person? And here's what I would say to individuals like that. If someone says, well, how do I know if someone's repentant? I would say, here's some of the big things. Number one, have they allowed community to be in their life and be accountable to community? That's a big thing, because people who say sorry but then go into isolation means that sometimes it often means it was not a genuine act of repentance. It was, I'm sorry I got caught. Now I'm just going to go isolate, because really hasn't been a true act of me going to God and saying, God, I've sinned before you. This is first before you, God, before it is to others. And that, again, goes to the fear of God, right? And then it goes into, are they back in isolation? No, they're in community. They're being held accountable. Does their community know what's going on? Okay, they do? All right. So everyone's aware of the picture. Now, how are you taking steps towards regaining trust and being healthy again? If those things can begin to be articulated, then I would say you're on a healthy step forward. And I take journeys with people in that healthy step forward. But when the person goes, no, I don't want to be accountable to anyone. No, I don't want a relationship with anyone. No, I don't. No, they're isolating more and more. You see, or you see they want a new friend group all of a sudden, because this friend group knows too much about them. Mm-hmm. And so, I've had that happen at times with people. It doesn't end well in that sense, right? So there's signs you have to look for in terms of forgiveness.
They have to live and learn and allow them to make that decision, and you just have to let them go. Say, God be with you, be at peace.
Yeah.
The scriptural principle is hand them over to Satan for the destruction of their flesh. That's an extreme thing, but sometimes, you just gotta don't worry about them. Don't just let them go. Let them live their life. Let them make their decision, and let them learn for themselves whether this new path that they're taking is right or wrong, or will produce negative fruit or consequences or whatever. But and
we jokingly kind of say, and it's just, we can let people in some of the behind the scenes, but we all jokingly, some of us say like, oh, I've handed that person over to Satan, we say that internally, jokingly sometimes as a process of healing, but it's also biblical, right? Mm-hmm. When a person continues in sin, the scriptures say you hand them over to Satan. In other words, you're saying you allow their desires and their actions to be exhibited with the repercussions that they've chosen. And it's not literally like you're saying, Satan, you can have them, but you are giving space to say, I've done everything I can. I've come alongside of them. I've partnered in righteousness. I've tried to hold them accountable. I've brought them into church. I've tried to let them be submissive to the Lord. They don't want that. So therefore I walk away so that they could be handed over to Satan. And because the more you give them a string of attachment, I'm here for you, I'll pray for you whenever, it's like, then, they're sober tomorrow and they call, pray for me. And then they're back at it tomorrow night.
And God operates like that. When the people of Judah were acting crazy, worshiping other false idols and false gods, Jeremiah's sole responsibility was to tell them that they're going to be plucked up, they're going to be broken down and destroyed for the hope to one day rebuild and plant and be restored. But God's like, y'all want to do this, then do it. I want to restore you, but take the path that you want to take. And then it's when you get to the rock bottom, then are you going to choose to depend on me? But God operates like that. So I think if he operates to a point where he's like, okay, do what you want to do, then
he disciplines those who love. That's another verse. He disciplines those who loves. If you're really his child, he's gonna discipline you. He's a hound dog, and that's the thing. I'm like, sometimes it's like, God, you sneaky little snake, because could you just leave me alone? Because there are some people that he just won't allow them to just like live like the world, because he loves them too much. They have such a calling on their life, and he or she is their child. And he's just like, sometimes.
Well, I've shared this story a couple of times on the pulpit, and it's good in this conversation that, because H remembers my wild era in college, and the way it ended was, number one, a lot of things were going, God was disciplining me. Things would go wrong. I was getting in trouble. Backlash between girls, and then all of a sudden I'm in the dean's office. It's all this stuff is like going wrong consistently. But when the nail hit the head, I was drunk one night, was on Hollywood and Highland. H was in seminary, I think, already at that time. And we go in the strip club, me and a couple of the guys, we're in the strip club, and I get this lap dance, and I just start crying. I just start weeping like a baby in the stripper's lap. I'm just weeping uncontrollably. I've shared this in a sermon before.
I have not heard.
I'm weeping. I'm like crying. I'm like, what am I doing? I shouldn't be here. I know better than this. The stripper's dancing while I'm crying, and she's like, "Is everything okay?" They use they call you like baby and sweetie and all these little romantic things. So she's like, "Baby, are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I shouldn't be in here right now," And then she's like, "It's okay," and I go, "No, it's not okay." And so I ask her to get off, and then I was there with a couple friends who we were doing our own thing in our flesh, and I looked at them. I said, I can't do this. I'll be outside. So I go next door to one of those Mexican carts where they make the bacon wrapped hot dogs out in LA. So I get one of those bacon wrapped hot dogs. I'm sitting on the curb crying, eating a bacon wrapped hot dog. And I say, Lord, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm so selfish. I'm so self-absorbed. This is leading me nowhere. I have no peace. I have no joy. I'm done. And then those friends came out and I was like, guys, I'm done. Tomorrow we are going to church. We came to Abundant. I was 21, whatever it was, came to Abundant with all 8 of my friends, and who were all, in Christian school one way or another. Not some were majoring in Bible, some weren't. But then we all just sat there and then we met with Pastor Diego, my dad at the time, and we were like, we all need to be discipled. That's what we're all missing. We're not accountable to no spiritual headship. We don't have a father in the faith fathering us. Like, none of us had that. And so we were like, we need that. That's one thing we need. We'll be here every Sunday. And that was the step forward to consistently be like, the Lord chastised me. He disciplined me. And it came in a lack of peace. Some came in embarrassment from other areas. My conscience that would not be clear. I'm weeping. I'm crying. And I don't cry. We've talked about this a lot. I don't cry a lot. And so to make me ugly, cry, weep is like I was broken. Yeah. And sometimes a man, you have to get to that place, or a woman, you got to get to that place. But then you have to take the steps forward to find accountability, to find fatherhood, to find mentorship, to find motherhood, to find those relationships. You don't just put it in the cosmos. Okay, God, I'm going to get my act together. No, get your act together. Go to church every week when those doors are open. Get to prayer. Read your Bible. Find a father in the faith. Find a mother in the faith. Get mentored. Get discipled. There is a process to that plan. If you don't have that process, then get it. Get the process. And that's what I did. And so some people have said, oh, you don't tell that story. Some people may not respect you anymore as a pastor. Good. Don't respect me as a pastor, because I'm not trying to be respected as a pastor. I'm trying to be a disciple of Christ. That's what I'm trying to be. I want to be a man of God. And a man of God first starts in these steps. And guess what? My wife respects the daylights out of me, because she knows if Adam can experience conviction in that area, then I know as a man of God, he'll experience conviction in this relationship. It doesn't make us perfect. Yeah,
you have to, and a lot of it too is self-awareness. You were self-aware enough to, and a lot of people lack self-awareness. It's like, dude, do you know how other people are looking at you right now? Do you know how you look to other people around you right now? Yeah. So you have to have self-awareness as well, to be like, wow, I'm acting crazy. I'm acting like a fool. Let me get out of this. Yeah. And like you said, but I want to, I think we should do a part 2. Like we talked about, potentially with a young adult panel. Because there's still
there's a lot of meat on the bone for sure
to be that you should talk about in regards to this. But we didn't finish your Matt Damon story, because I want Andy to clip it. Oh, so you gotta walk us through what happened from start to finish, because that's the story is just hilarious.
Okay. So where we left off, Matt Damon, I go. So to give you the mindset, it's for an omelet buffet at the Disneyland Hotel, and so we're there for the Goofy's Kitchen. So the omelet buffet, there was about 15 people, and it's 2 omelets. The person's custom making the omelets, so it's a long wait to get your custom omelet. So Matt Damon's waiting to custom make his omelet. He's the last one in line. So there's about 14 people in front of us. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes per omelet to make. So we got some time, right? So I stand next to him and I say, hey, Matt, I'm sorry to bother you. He was in his phone. He was texting something. I said, man, I'm sorry to bother you. I just have a question. Like I said, I have friends who don't believe in global warming. And, if you had to give them one resource that would really convince them, but it could only be one. That's the game. It's only one. And it has to be a book, website, a documentary, whatever it is. What is the one resource I would recommend to my friend that you believe would best convince them? Because, some of these lunatics are even flat earthers, right? They even believe the earth. I literally said that. I was like, some of these lunatics are even flat earth guys. I'm thinking of Caleb the whole time, right?
No, I'm not flat earth. I'm not flat earth.
So I literally said, man, because some people take this so extreme, and they even become flat earth people, right? So this is great. And at that point, he laughs, right? He chuckles. So I said, what's that one resource? His response was, man, that is such a great question. I've never been asked that before. And then he stopped and he paused. And he said, to be honest, man, I'd have to really think about it more. I don't know one resource that I would be confident that would convince someone of global warming. And then at that time I said, that's great. You have a great day. Thank you so much for answering my question. And I turn around. I give my back to him. And then he literally about after 30 seconds of silence, because now he's just like looking up, thinking. After about 30
you're living
seconds,
rent free in Matt Damon's head at this point.
Now I'm in control of the conversation, right? And then he literally goes, he taps me on the shoulder, because now I turn around and look at my phone, and then he taps me on the shoulder. He goes, but I mean, as I'm thinking about it, I'm not trying to say that there isn't good resources to help with it. I'm just saying I couldn't think of the one resources that would do it. So and then he begins to explain what he would do to talk to a person. And so he goes, there's this, this thing on the internet. And then he now I'm mixing it up, because then he goes, what I would recommend is they go on Google and they begin to research those things. And then I say, but can't Google get us into trouble nowadays? Like, I know guys who even went on Google and became flat earthers because of it. And then he laughs and he goes, you know what, you're right. Google probably isn't the best place to go. And then every chance I would get, I would be like, I know. And I would just kind of respectfully turn so that he didn't feel like I was bidding for this conversation for him, because people are probably trying to do that all the time. So when we would talk, I would kind of give him my composure, give him my thing, and then I'd turn back around. And then I would, still give my shoulder, and then he would talk back at me. So we had this conversation for about 10 minutes, and we're talking about global warming the whole time. He's in the conversation. We're talking. His wife comes up at one point. My two kids were like playing with his kids and my kids were like playing with each other around the buffet. And so his wife tells me that our kids are beautiful.
Oof,
and
you're
so,
in with the wife now.
Yeah. She's like, your kids are so beautiful. I say, thank you. And so there's like this little thing. And then my father, my Diego Mesa, comes up, who now is, after 15 minutes of conversation, he knows he lost the bet, which was that I could get Matt Damon to have a full conversation with me. He comes up and he comes behind Matt. By that time, me and him are on first name basis. He knows me as Adam. I know him as Matt. My dad comes up and he says, Adam, would you leave Matt Damon alone? Matt Damon, he's saying his first and last name numerous times. Matt Damon is just trying to get an omelet made. Hey, Matt Damon, my name's Diego Mesa. Matt shakes his hand, pulls out his phone, turns his back to me. And now we still had 5 people in front of us. For the rest of the 5 people, Matt did not turn around from the line. Dad walked away at that point. He did not turn around and look at me once. Even when his omelet was made, he didn't say, it was great meeting you, great conversation, because someone came in and killjoyed the whole conversation, and it was done at that point. I mean, we could have exchanged numbers or emails. I mean, it was not a far press. But then he would have Googled me or something and found out I was a pastor. I probably wouldn't have been a fan of that. But no, it was set till he came in and said Matt Damon's name 4 times in 30 seconds. And then Matt Damon. I mean, when you talk about,
because you treated him like a normal
cold,
guy. I'm sure with celebrities, like, that means a lot when people treat them like they're normal.
Well, you look at that famous clip, right, with Henry Cavill, right, who's the guy who plays Superman. Mm-hmm. There's the interviewer who's interviewing for a movie, and the first thing he says is, what character are you playing right now in your World of Warcraft game? Because Henry Cavill, and he lit up, and he said, well, I'm playing this group. It's World of Warcraft or whatever it is. He said, I'm playing this army. What army are you playing? And then the guy says, this army. And then he goes, oh, should we? And then he goes, we'll talk after. So immediately It's like you bid someone in for what they're interested in. And like Chelsie said, like, well, how do you know that? Well, it takes a little bit of awareness and research. Like the last thing you want to do is talk to a person based off what they're known for, what they're famous for. That's usually the least thing that they're going to be interested in conversation, right? And so, for example, in my case, because I talk about the Bible all day, if you're going to have a conversation with me, the way that you're not going to engage me in a conversation per se is by going straight into talking about church culture. Hey, Adam, who's your favorite pastors you listen to? Like that is not going to engage me in a conversation right off the bat. You have to seek what I'm interested in. What I love, people know about, I love theology. Or I love mentoring young men. And so you begin to ask me a question about me and my wife. We love Disneyland and stuff. Ask us a question. What's your favorite ride you've ever been in Disneyland? Like, you find out the things that are interest, and you can easily pick that up by just hearing a person's conversation one or two times. It's going to be harder right off the bat. You're going to have to be good at asking questions at that point. But if you have an awareness of that person, right? Awareness of your manager. I always tell young people, you want to, you want to get your manager's attention once a week. Tell them you want to buy them coffee every Friday, just because you appreciate them being your manager. Find out what their favorite coffee order is. Right now, there's a pastor I look up to. There's a pastor I really look up to. He briefly mentioned his favorite restaurant 9 months ago in a thing, and I have it written in my notes right now. I know his birthday's coming up in 3 months. The dude only met me once, but I'm going to get him a gift card to his favorite restaurant. It's only in that city, and I'm going to say happy birthday. Like, that's it. I'm not trying to get attention. I just finding something someone values. Yeah. And then if you appreciate them, then appreciate them in a way that you can appreciate them. Yeah. That's realistic for what your budget fits or what your lifestyle fits or what. And it's not about like, I'm going to do this to see how far I get. It's like, I'm going to do this because I genuinely appreciate this person. But I also know in the art of communication, that tends to then make someone notice for sure. But that you don't do that as the motive. You don't do that as the motive as a goal. There's stuff I've done. I've done a lot of things for people that have never even gotten a thank you. It doesn't stop me from still being generous. One time, we'll close with this. I had a guy that has a very, very successful company now. And they do referrals. And in the referrals, you get... you get money back financially. Like, so if I had Chelsie and I referred her, I'd get, $100 or whatever, right? For referring the person. Well, there was a person who had a big company that had multiple franchises. And I believe this person that I had met, their company would benefit them. And so basically we're setting up a call where we're going to make the introduction, but I couldn't make it to the call. So the owner of the company called me. He said, "Hey, Adam, you said you can't make it to this call. If you don't make it to the call, I can't give you the referral if they sign up." And I said, "Bro, I don't." And this referral would have probably made me maybe $5,000, something like that, because the person has multiple franchises. I said, "Listen, man, I believe in what you guys are doing. I made the connection not to get the referral money. I made the connection because I believe you can genuinely help my friend in what your business does. If I'm not on the call, it's cool. I don't need the referral. I just want to see your business succeed." That was it. That relationship changed the direct trajectory of their company, like massively, made them worth millions of dollars on top of what they were already were. 6 months later, I got a call. He said, "Hey, man, I just want to thank you so much for everything you did 6 months ago. I met with my board last night, and we gave you ownership shares of stock into my company as a way to say thank you." That ownership shares in those companies is way more $5,000. Not even close for $5,000. He said, "You honored me 6 months ago. I find it only right to honor you."
You reap what you sow. Yeah.
And I didn't ask for that. I didn't do that. I didn't know what their company was worth. But right now, that is a massive amount of money that far exceeds $5,000. I mean, it's not life-changing, but it is,
and that's favor.
That it's honorable.
And that seems to be kind of a universal law too, even for non-Christians, just out in the world. Like you get out, you get out what you put in. It's what is the law of attraction? Or there's a
law. Yeah.
But I mean, so it's not just a Christian principle It's
it's a
law
principle
of the universe.
I mean, it's a principle that's God led. That's.
I mean, that may be too new agey, but
right. I get what you're trying to say. You're
but
trying to say if you're not a Christian, you could still apply these things.
You can still benefit from that. Yeah.
Christian principles exhibit.
Because stuff like that is how a lot of these business
Yeah.
people get ahead.
Yeah.
Is doing stuff like that, and they end up.
Yeah, and the ones who
It's
get
the
ahead,
art of the
but
deal.
it doesn't
Donald
last.
Trump, the art of the deal type stuff. It's like.
Yeah. Or
But
it's
obviously, from a
what's that other
Christian,
famous,
but from a
book,
Christian, you're
something laws.
Law of power.
48 laws of power.
48 laws of power. Yeah, it's that stuff. The 48 laws. I was recently with a group of pastors, and they were like, "Have you ever read 48 Laws of Power?" I was like, "No, I've never read it." And they're like, "Your whole life exhibit 48 Laws of Power."
Yeah.
And they're like, "It's not." They're like, "You have to put it in the Christian framework because it's a secular book, I guess." But they didn't believe I had never read it. Because they were like, when you talk, your convictions exhibit that book, and then I was like, no, I've never read it, and they're like, well, we tell you to read it, but we think you already used the 48 law, but
instinctive,
yeah. But to me, it's just I have great mentors in my life. I'm quick to learn, slow to speak, easy to listen. And then you provide value for everybody around you. I think if you just boil and simply these things, and then you fear of God, you obtain that favor. The Lord moves in tremendous ways, and doesn't mean life goes perfect, and doesn't mean it all happens well, and it's all perfectly asphalted path for your life, But yeah, I'll tell you this: it gives you a lot more peace than what the other guys are doing, who are using people, abusing people, focusing on their self every single day. It's that's a dangerous path to go on. And so you may have some money in your account, but you got nothing else. You got no respect from anybody around you. You have no influence with anybody. You have no respect.
Well, if you have love, you have not nothing, Paul says, and you can do all these great things, be the greatest orator, be the greatest gifted man. But if you have not love, and that's really where being a Christian, we encourage people to be Christians, because that's where you reach your ultimate relational fulfillment, because you're doing these things motivated by love.
Yeah.
Love for the person you're dealing with, love for the community around you, love for for God.
Well, this was great. We should do a part 2 one of these days if people are interested in it. We're talking. We could do a studio audience and do more kind of question-based stuff that might be fun to kind of talk more about these principles and stuff like that.
I think this definitely warrants a part 2, and I would love to have a young adult, teenage audience for them to ask questions and. What do you guys think? Was this good?
Yeah, this was great.
Imagine someone's like, no. We should erase it.
Well, I think this stuff is gold, Jerry. It's gold.
It's riveting.
Beyond riveting.
I forgot of the state because I'm working mentally in merch and my notes and stuff. All of Christ for all of life. That was the one that I was missing in my head for merch.
For merch.
That's it. Yeah. I've been writing
And we need to
notes.
do new photo shoots because
You look better now. You've been working
I
out.
look
and
horrible.
Stuff.
I mean those first pics. I hate looking at myself.
Yeah, we'll do. We'll do a new one. Yeah, we'll get a new one going. All right,
Look like
everybody.
a crypt keeper.
God bless you.